during my illegal termination of employment from Walmart in 2018 and the rest of the list of violations that were enacted against me caused me to fall behind my regular payments for the apartment I had just had moved into, and somehow one of the office reps noticed I started to fall behind a little, so she made me an offer that I couldn't resist of paying half for that month and the next month to pay full plus the other half from the previous month, since she knew that I was keeping up with my rent and everything pretty good until just recently. But she changed her mind and asked before the next month afterwards, and me already basically spending that money and all of that basically and messed me up, and me finding a replacement job. So my last week of work came. I got off of work one day and got off the bus and walked up to my apartment to see my stuff sitting outside with people going through my stuff. All of it was because of a very risky gamble I previously made that had caught up to me, and I had made a decision to keep fighting and go even harder to make a complete comeback. I took the last money I had paid for a moving truck in a storage and moved everything there, then went to a man's shelter where I found assistance and got me another source of income in a couple months. I then fought Walmart for my job back. The third time around that time, I had bad dreams about my dad, that my dad died and something was going to happen that might have caused his death, and that something was wrong and I needed to see him and go around him. But something was going to go wrong with the ones that were around him at the time. So I thought I would take over the house he was staying in at that time, that I thought it was already empty and that he was the only one living there. Plus, I already was tired of being at the man's shelter, but I was already tired of being at the man's shelter because I was already there for a few months working already, for half a year or something like that. But he had others there, so I waited longer, working and saving up from $0 to at least about $2,000 to $2,500. Then moved in the house where my dad was living, still working at Walmart. I was saving for a business in other houses, but I knew I would have more than likely had another small setback when one day a coworker called me over and told me my dad was at my job looking for me with his downstairs neighbor. That being, he never doing that before, then see that me and my dad neighbors were people who I knew were wanted for a possible murder, and I went back to work with that at thought until I clocked out and seen and heard evidence about people, places, and things about one of the unsolved murders, which I started getting gang stalked, worked mobbed, smear campaigned, and I was working a lot of overtime, and I was doing the most on my shift at the time. So I got sick of being overused and being seen I got sick of being used and not being seen and or promoted. So I changed my shift from evening shift to the night shift, where it was more chill and laid back and slow pace at first, until I met this girl who took interest in me, asking me about me, and I asked her back in interest about her, and during our conversation, we hit it off with each other. Me and her started seeing each other outside of work. We had a lot of fiery passion for each other. Me and her had a lot of sex. Me and her was healing and bonding just well, but me and her had multiple people working against me and her being together, and the bribed and blackmailed me and her through deception to cheat and contract an STD that was meant for me to catch, that I didn't catch, because we got into it and it kept getting worse. So I told her to leave, and she did. I moved shortly after and haven't seen her since. But mysteriously, a year later, my dad did pass away.